You know that feeling, right? A powerful, overwhelming emotion just hits you out of absolutely nowhere. Your heart starts pounding, your mind is racing, and in that moment, a lot of us reach for some kind of technique to just calm down. But here's the question. Does that actually help? Or are we just pushing that feeling down, hoping it goes away? That's exactly what we're going to get into today. So this is the big dilemma, isn't it? You try a technique to get some balance back, but then that little voice of doubt creeps in. Am I really dealing with this, or am I just shoving it into a box that's going to explode later? It's a really important question to ask. So let's paint the picture. An intense emotion, maybe anger, frustration, or just deep sadness, suddenly washes over you. And your first instinct might be to use a mental tool to stop it from spiraling out of control. But yeah, at first, that can feel like you're just forcing a lid onto a boiling pot. The specific practice we're talking about here is called recollection of the triple gem. Now, what does that really mean? Well, to put it simply, when you're hit with a difficult or unwholesome emotion like anger, you intentionally bring a positive or wholesome quality into your mind, something like gratitude or compassion. It's really all about making a conscious shift in your mental focus. And listen, it is completely normal for this to feel like you're just suppressing the feeling at first. I mean, you're actively trying to change your state of mind, so of course it can seem like you're just pushing that negative feeling away, or resisting it, or even trapping it inside. But what's really happening is something much more subtle and honestly a lot more skillful. Okay, so to really get why this isn't just bottling things up, we need to look at a core idea here. And it's this. Our mind can basically be in one of two very different states when it's dealing with an emotion. See, on one side, you've got the unwholesome mind. This state is reactive, it kind of welcomes those negative emotions, it responds to them, and it gives them a place to hang out and get comfortable. But on the other side, you have the wholesome mind. It just doesn't respond in the same way. It acts more like a shield, and it stops that emotion from ever latching on. So here's the absolute core of it. A negative emotion can't just exist in a vacuum. Think of it like a seed. For that little seed of anger to actually grow, it needs the right kind of soil to plant itself in, and that's the unwholesome mind. But if you change the soil to something wholesome, that same seed just has nowhere to take root. And this leads us to the most critical point. You literally cannot have both of these states at the exact same time. They're mutually exclusive. The second you bring in a wholesome, calm state of mind, it becomes impossible for that reactive emotion to set up shop. One simply pushes the other out. So, what does this actually look like when it's happening? Let's walk through the process, step by step, so you can see how this leads to releasing the emotion, not repressing it. First, the emotion shows up. It just hits you, and we often feel these powerful emotions physically, right? Right here in the chest and the heart area. That storm cloud just starts to gather. Now, this is the moment that changes everything. Instead of reacting with that feeling, you use the recollection technique. You intentionally cultivate a wholesome quality in your mind, and that creates this kind of protective field, that glowing light which stops the emotion from finding anywhere to anchor itself. And here's the final result. Because that emotion has no unwholesome soil to grow in, because it's being blocked from taking over your mind, it just can't sustain itself. It's not being stored or pushed down, it just naturally runs out of steam and fades away. Okay, let's bring this all together. Understanding this difference is exactly what makes this a skillful practice, and not just a brute force attempt to control your feelings. So the most important takeaway is this. You're not going to war with the feeling. You're not trying to destroy the anger or the sadness. Instead, you are skillfully changing your inner environment so that the feeling has no power over you. You're simply refusing to give it the reaction it needs to survive. So let's review the whole thing one more time. The emotion shows up, but instead of reacting, you cultivate a wholesome state. This acts like a shield, blocking the emotion from taking over. And since it's not being fed by a reactive mind, it is never stored or repressed. It just runs out of fuel and disappears. It's not about caging the feeling. It's about putting up a shield that lets the storm pass right by. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What if the real key to emotional freedom isn't about wrestling our feelings into submission, but about skillfully creating a mind where they simply can't take root in the first place?